Hello, everyone. Welcome to another show of Podcasters Unleash. We're back. It's another Monday. It's 7 p.m. in London time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope everyone's having a lovely night or afternoon. Today, we are having a very fun and fascinating topic, and I think it's a very important topic. We're going to discuss about it. But first, I want my co-hosts to introduce themselves so we go to the show. Let's go with you, Simon.
Hi, I'm Simon Ashton. My podcast is Taxi Chronicles. I have many episodes, over 400, and we just interview people as they get into the taxi and they tell their life, their career, their dramas, their love stories, a wide range of things. You can listen to us at any time. We post at 8 p.m. and I'm on all the major platforms. Over to you, Howler.
Thanks, Simon. So I'm the host of the podcast Women Stories, where I share real stories from real women around the world. And you can tune in all podcast platforms. And over to you, Victor.
Hi, I'm Victor Osio. I'm the host of the Diaspora Entrepreneurs podcast, where we discuss and we talk about strategies about how to get from the 9 to 5 grind to a lifestyle of freedom. So you can check us out on all major platforms. Over to you, Nelson.
And good morning or good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nelson J. Zambrano. I'm the host of Investing in America, where we talk about two topics. One, how to invest in the United States. And the second topic is I have incredible interviews with some amazing entrepreneurs and their stories and their best business practices as well. And you can catch me on Spotify, iTunes, and going on to YouTube channel as well. Over to you, Carla.
I'm Carla, and I'm the host of the Wonder and Wellbeing podcast, which is for parents and teachers of kids between the ages of 5 and 14 years old. And we cover everything to do with education and well-being. And you can catch my podcast anywhere that you can listen to podcasts. Back to you, Matilda.
Well, thank you, my co-host. So today's topic is about the art of being single. I mean, I don't know why I'm hosting the show because I have gazillion things to say. I've been single a lot of my life, and I enjoyed my single life. But the reason of doing this show today, we want to raise awareness of the importance of making the most of your single life, how people can develop themselves when they're single, and how is it like to be single in different stages of your life. So I think we have a great group to discuss personally as well, because we are in a different age groups as well, with different life experiences and different stage in life. So I'm excited to start with Carla, because Carla is our young and beautiful and an energetic one in the group, and she's in her 20s. I'm not gonna give away your exact age, but tell us how it's like to be single in your 20s. I'm sure at one point in your 20s you've had a single experience. So how is it like? And also tell me what background you're coming from, so audience can get to know the background and the location that you're living, to understand if geography and culture affects the single life.
Wow, great question, all in one. Thanks, Matilda. I think, well, I'm in my late 20s, so I'm 28 for the moment. And I think being single in my early 20s, it was like my prime time to concentrate on different things, on my career, on my relationship, friendship mainly, and with people and family. And it just gave me this time to figure out what makes me tick, what I really want out of this life, what kind of people I really want to be around with. I grew up in the Middle East, so in North Africa, in Morocco, and I grew up also in different countries in the Middle East as well. And there's always this aspect of family support, and this this culture around being in a society where you need to help other people, where you need to be there for them. And then when I moved from this environment and I came to Europe, it was like a different kind of environment where everybody is trying to make a living and everybody is trying to keep themselves healthy, trying to be more and more like individualistic thinking, maybe more. So being in my early 20s and moving to Europe just gave me this great time to discover myself more, to discover other countries, other society, and to really ask the right questions for me. What are my values? How can I contribute the best to the place that I'm in? How can I be a better friend, and how people around me can do best for me too? So I think it's very, very interesting to be single in early 20s. There's nothing wrong to be in a relationship in 20s, but I do think being single in 20s give you the best time to do mistakes, to explore more options, and to learn from them.
Perfect. I love it. I want to see Simon is very quiet today. And Simon has a very had a very exciting and is having a very exciting life. Your life journey is very fascinating for me. I want to ask you as a man in 30s, how was single life? And where were you? Where were you standing in life in your 30s? So we have a picture of your exotic lifestyle.
I'm in my 30s. I was in the military, and then I left the military, and then I went into private security work overseas. It's basically a bit of mercenary work, and that meant you were on the move. So it's quite hard to hold down a serious relationship. And then I decided I was going to reside in Kenya, and I was going to start my own business. So that's kind of sums up what I was doing. And that took a lot of focusing. At the first point, it was your health, being super fit, remembering drills and things that you're taught that will keep you alive, not thinking about loved ones or children and all those things, being totally focused. And then as time, especially when I was on the ship for 5 years, it allowed me to reflect. You start to think of all past relationships you've been in and people you've met, just in friends and family, and who you really are as a person. And obviously this wasn't planned. It was just a life experience moment. And then I thought, well, let me start again. Africa looks financially viable. Let me have a go at this. And so I started a business. And then starting a business in Africa, especially my descendants are African, but I'm part of the whole slave trade, excuse me. So there's a disconnect. So as the English would say, it's like I'm a ginger cousin coming back to the family. They're not quite sure how to take me. And it was a big learning curve. And through that, the relationship wasn't really a paramount, because you're spending your life savings trying to make you a profit. So that was my focus. Obviously, people showed interest, or you may see somebody you like, but it wasn't the be all and end all. The main focus was, how am I going to get my money back that I'm investing, and what's the best way to invest it, and things like that.
Did you enjoy your 30s and single?
Yeah, of course. I enjoy all my life. No, because even when it's bad, even if there's a hiccup, it's the glass is half full, not half empty.
Very
It's
nice.
just how it goes.
You know, I'm dying to say about my part of 30s and single, but okay, I'm a host. I cannot talk that much, but I'm biting my nails. So, Victor, you've been single once, I don't know, upon a time, a long time ago. You've been married for, I think, 20 years, or am I right?
Yeah, you are close to that. Yes. I don't know. Being when I was single, I can't really remember
Which country were
that
you when
much.
you were single?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Before that, thank you, Matilda. Yeah, I was single in Nigeria.
Uh-huh.
So, and oof. Talking about Carla's age just gave me hope. Just gave me away. Yeah, because I've been with my missus now since '93. So that's like almost 28 years ago. So I've been with her. So I can't really remember how it was. But what I'll tell you is that it was one of the most freeing time for me to pursue whatever I wanted to pursue, because I had a father who was really motivated about going to school. So he really pushed us towards having some serious academic qualifications, because he was not really that educated. So he wanted us as his kids to be very educated so that we'll be like his eyes in his business. So we were really pushed towards attaining degrees, and I'm very grateful for that push and that constant reminder. So,
Victor, one
yeah,
second. I want you to mention us how many brother and sisters you have, because I love it.
yeah. In total, we're 51.
Oh my God, this is amazing. And I'm an only
Yeah,
child. For me, it's like, woo, this is Disneyland.
I'm telling you, 51. And yeah, we had a good life, very robust one, if I can use that word, very robust one, very rich. And I didn't feel like I missed anything, because whatever you want, like we always say in our family, whatever example that you want, it's there in the family. Whatever type of friend that you want, it's in the family. So it was very robust. So when I was, let me say, when I was single, we played a lot, but the main focus was education, 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 education. Went to boarding house. Education was like everything we spoke about in our house. So, but for me now, looking in retrospect, having kids now, having teenage daughters now, so I would like to like encourage them to 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 be more self-assured when it comes to being single and moving forward towards having a partner. Like um, the education should be on point, their mental state should be on point, their self-esteem should be the right one. So that is what I would like for them to. That's my wish anyway. So that is that for you, Matilda. I hope I did not like go off the tangent here.
No, lovely. It's fascinating, especially to see people from different parts of the world being single and how they handle their single life, because I think it's very important. I want to see what Carla, tell us about your single life. What was your situation to be single? I mean, you can talk about 30s, or if you're older than that.
Yeah, I am older than that. And I'm not shy. I'm not shy to say that I'm in my 40s. And I love it. I love being in my 40s. The 40s is a great time. It's a great time to be alive, because you've got all the wisdom of the first half or more or less of your life. And for me, being single is something that I don't know. I can't say I haven't spent a long time in my life single. And what I mean by that is single in the sense of free, because I've had children for a long time. I had my first child when I was 17, so I've been a mother for most of my life. And I think that makes your single life very different. So what I mean by that is when you are not in a relationship with another adult, you always have your children there. So my children have kind of, with my first two children, we sort of grew up together. As they were growing up as little girls, I was growing into being a woman. So I was balancing getting to know myself, like Howla said, in her 20s, when you get to know yourself and all of that. I was doing that at the same time as getting to know my children, and they were getting to know me. So it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun bringing up my daughters, and just the three of us were like a little team. And that was a unique experience, I think, because instead of spending my 20s going to nightclubs and maybe partying and exploring the world and all of that, I wasn't doing that. I was looking after my daughters. But I don't feel like I missed out. Sometimes people say, oh, did you feel like you missed out? But I don't. I feel like it was really good for me, because it helped me to be stable at a time when maybe you can be a bit reckless in your 20s. Sometimes you make bad decisions or whatever, and you just think about yourself all the time. But I found that being a mother in my 20s in times when I was in relationship and also when I was single. Having the kids there was like an anchor, and it helped me to be responsible and to focus on self-development. I think I spent a lot of time self-developing because I always had to question not only if what I was doing was good for me, which is what you do a lot in your 20s, but whether or not what I was doing and the decisions I was making were good for my children as well. So that's been a big part of my single life. But now in my 40s, when my daughters are now grown up, it's a nice time to sort of see what they're doing and how they're different from what I was like in my 20s, but also to concentrate on maybe the parts that I didn't get as much time to do when I was in my teens and 20s, which was to explore passions and interests and maybe things that I can do for fun more than just responsibility. So I've had quite an interesting journey, Matilda.
Carla, I think you should be very proud of yourself. I mean, lots of people in their 20s, they don't even understand life, but you were doing, you had a lot of responsibilities, the pressure that you went through, and I think made you a gold. No, made you a diamond. So I think I mean, I'm very proud of who you are and what you've been through. It's really fascinating. Bravo to you. And still, from all the chaos, you found your way. Lots of people cannot even find their way, even when they're single and mingle, ready to mingle. Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
but like
nice.
Simon said at the beginning that it's all about how you look at things. So people used to give me a hard time. I'm not going to lie. It wasn't always easy. There was a lot of judgment, and there was a lot of people telling me about what I had done with my life and that it wasn't the best thing for me to do. But I tried to look at it in a positive way. Like Simon has said, about half full instead of half empty. So I saw it as an advantage. And even now I can see lots of advantages of being single in my 40s. When I'm a lot wiser, I would pick a better partner for myself now in my 40s than I would have done back then. So yeah, there are lots of advantages, and thank you. I appreciate that, Matilda.
Very nice. Also, I want to tell the audience, where are you guys? Write comments. We're waiting for you. We are waiting to see what you are what kind of questions you want to ask from us, because we have different age groups with different life experiences. And also share us about your single life. Are you enjoying your single life? What do you do for your single life that is really for you and you're enjoying it? So tell us. We want to hear it. I want to come to Nelson. Hello, Nelson. Tell us about your single life experience in your 30s, or I don't know if you're older, 40s.
Well, Matilda, first of all, thank you. And just to let everyone know, our audience, Matilda is asking these questions in reverse age order. Okay. So the youngest person is the last person to talk. Obviously, Simon is the oldest because he was the first one to go. So, my time, my single time, some of it's similar to Simon. Okay, I was in the reserves, and I got recalled to active duty after the 9/11 attacks. So I was in between my civilian career, military career, bouncing back and forth between deployments, and I'm very fortunate. I consider myself fortunate because I got to do a lot of things that I wanted to do, kind of legacy things that I would say to myself, man, the day I have grandkids and they ask, hey, granddad, what did you do? I wanted to say, your granddad did something. So I did a lot of that something. So that for me was a big thing. I did a lot of other things as well. And I wish, let's see now, I guess, let me go back to the question. I want to make sure I answer it the right way. So just give me the question again, Matilda, just to make sure I got it.
I want to see, how was your single life? Where were you? How was your single life? How your experiences in your 30s or in your 40s, whichever you are in your life stage, and how you're handling it.
Overall, I'd say it was good. I always say, hey, I could have done this little bit extra. I could have done that little bit extra. I could have handled this better. So that's, I guess, a type of reflection and saying, what else could I have done? But when I sit back and write about it, I said, wow, you did a lot, Nelson. So I'm happy, I'm satisfied. And at the same time, I think maybe I should have been a little bit more forward leaning. I could have kind of gotten a little bit more squeeze out of it, so to speak. But again, I like to compare myself to people who are in that top rung. So that for me is a good thing. And as far as relationships, I believe that all relationships, we should both grow in a positive way from all relationships. So that's kind of my philosophy when it comes to that.
Awesome. That's great. So we're gonna go into some questions later on, Nelson. So I want to understand what you could have done better. But as of now, Carla mentioned something very interesting about working on herself. I want to ask you guys, because like for me, being single, I think should be celebrated and praised. And it's during our aloneness that we find ourselves, we find our purpose, we find our passions. So we really need to work on ourselves. What is really working on yourself in single time means? I want to know what Simon will think about it.
When it comes to working on yourself, I don't think there's any particular time you work on yourself. I think anybody who's not in depression and who's in their right mind is always working on yourself. From when you're born, you're trying to suck on your mum's breast, you're working on yourself, you're developing, to when you go to school, you're always working and you're always learning from other people. As Abraham Lincoln said, I learn from everybody, even if at times it's not what to do. And that, I think, whether you're with somebody or you're not, I think you're learning. And some people do need time to reflect on themselves and actually to stop and say, okay, where am I? Who am I? And because some people, for instance, they may have daddy issues, as they say, and where you are bouncing from man to man because you don't want to be alone. I know some people who have been like that before, but generally it's still a process that you're working on yourself. So I wouldn't say that, well, for me personally, I've never felt the need to say, I need to be single, I got to work on myself. No, it's never been the case. I've just been living life. And when you get a quiet moment, you might reflect. Apart from that, you're trying to keep your head above water and you're just doing what you do. Thank you, Matilda.
Okay, what about you, Carla? You mentioned it, and I want to know what it is working on yourself means.
I kind of see where Simon's coming from. I agree with that to a certain extent, but I think that there are different levels of work. So there's surface level work, which is maybe just living the best life that you can based on the circumstances that you're in, and maybe educating yourself and taking care of yourself physically and all that. But then there's deeper level working on yourself. There's understanding how you operate under stress. And I think that's one of the things that I experienced a lot of, which is why I often talk about working on yourself. It's working on yourself in the sense of not much is going your way in life, but you've still got to get up and face things and develop yourself, and you can't escape from it. And I think when you're a parent and you have children with you full time, that requires a certain level of inner work. So you've got to develop things like patience, self-sacrifice. You have to develop things like how to live on a budget. Quite often when you're raising kids and you're a young parent, you experience a lot of financial issues. Sometimes you have to interrupt your career. So you don't get to put your career first because you've got your children, you have to put them first. And you have to juggle whether or not you're going to make decisions for yourself or decisions for your children. And you really get to confront things like your personality as well. You realize when I was young, I had very little patience, and I would get really frustrated and really hot and annoyed really quickly, which is common with a lot of young people. But when you have young children and you have to look after them, you've got to learn to compose yourself. You've got to learn to dig deep. You've got to understand who you are inside. And when you're faced with fragile babies and things like that, and you've got a hot temper, or, you're impatient or self-centered, you have to really rise above that. And that's what I mean when I say working on yourself. It's that inner level, understanding things like as well what you went through as a child, your own traumas, your own experiences. You have to wrestle with all of those when you're working on yourself at that deeper level. And sometimes you can dismiss it. You can put it aside and be too busy with your career or too busy with travel or keeping yourself entertained. And you tell yourself that you're working on yourself, but actually you're not. You're working on indulging yourself, or you're working on being happy. But there are different levels. So yeah, maybe someone else can elaborate on that a bit. But for me, I'm talking about the inner work. I'm talking about psychological, mental well-being, and all of that kind of stuff.
Just to jump in there, Matilda, the guy, when I came back from my first tour, the guy who taught me how to ride a motorbike, he is ex-military, and he was all busted up. He had metal plates, metal knuckles, all these different, he's a bit bionic. And he said I think he was in the Falklands or something. He's in some campaign, and he went to live in Thailand. And in Thailand, a lot of the British ex-military, they're called lost souls, which is a real deep word when you really think about to be called a lost soul. And he never used to care about his life. He used to do prize fighting. He's a bit like Rambo. If you've ever seen Rambo, where Rambo just goes off after the Vietnam War and you find him in some far eastern thing. And then some woman came along in his life and she changed the whole picture. Classic situation. And so this brings to mind in relation to what Carla's saying, is that do you really need that moment to look at yourself, or maybe you bump into somebody and they give you something to live for? And in that, he took on her child. It wasn't his child. Everything was about the woman. The woman treated him very well. I don't know if they're still together today, but everything was about her and the child, and he valued his life now. He wasn't doing stupid things of going 180 through traffic on a motorbike and those kind of reckless things where he just didn't care if he lived or died. But back to you.
Thank you. Hallelujah. Very good. Sounds good. Listen, I wanna ask Victor this question as well, because he's been obviously a gazillion years ago. Maybe he doesn't even remember how it's working on yourself means.
Yeah.
But
I'm
sure you have friends and stuff. How does it feel like? What do you suggest to single people? What is like to work on yourself? Because when you're married, when you're in a partnership with someone, you have to put a lot of time in that union. Not necessarily you have a lot of single or alone moments in life. So tell us from a married man point of view, what can a single person do to enjoy their single life better and enjoy the time and to benefit from that single life better?
Yeah, Matilda, I see I've been raising my hand so just to talk about working on yourself. I think the word working on yourself is kind of overrated, because this is an ongoing process. If one of the things I knew I was supposed to do was know how to manage money, and some kind of what's it called? The soft skills, the soft communication skills between, because we're talking in this context now as being single compared to being single compared to being married in a marriage situation. So I would say I would have known how to, when I was single, to learn how to manage money properly, finance properly. You get going into a relationship. Also working on yourself. It is, I wouldn't say it's an everlasting journey on working on yourself, but there's some nuances that we need to actually start looking into. Working on yourself, how you talk, your mannerism, temperament, these soft skills, these are what actually, because you can never be too prepared when it means working on yourself before you get into a relationship. You can never be too prepared. So when you're working on yourself, or if you like that, the soft skills can move you a little bit further than just than the degrees. The degrees are great. I have a cousin who just graduated medical doctor. She's about 20, 24, 25 now. You get another one PhD holder, less than 30, but they are kind of in different places in their life because of the soft skills that are not really there in their life. So, and because of the degrees that they have, they just feel that anyone that comes to them, kind of just brush them off. Oh, I'm now a high net worth individual. I have great skills, great potential. So, but that emotional intelligence is not really there. Kind of. So I would say, in a nutshell, just try developing your emotional intelligence, but know that it is a lifelong journey. Because as I am even now, I still like, oh, you don't know how to talk. When I talk, just listen. Okay. Even on this journey, right now, when I talk, hey, when I talk, just listen. You don't listen to me. You don't listen to me. Just listen. So now you're okay. Stand back. You listen. So you can't just. These are things that you actually need to start looking into as an individual before you meet a potential partner.
I should have worked on those. I have a problem with communication too, but I'm sure a lot of fights would have been avoided if you communicate in the right way.
We got some comments here, Matilda. I'm
Yes,
sure Nelson
let's
can
go
start
with
reading them
Nelson.
out.
Nelson, can you read the comments?
Yes, the comments are from Sarata Yasmin Kaba. Hello, everyone. I have a question for you. Why is being single systematically associated with loneliness, sadness nowadays? Many people in relationships can also feel alone even when they are surrounded. Thank you in advance for your answer. Sarata, thank you. And I'm going to read out both, and then I guess we'll go to Sarata's question first, and then Sasha. From Sasha Serge Pakarian, question to the group. Do you think it's a personal choice nowadays or just a consequence of a new trend in the society? You don't think it's more of a kind of determinism and and not really a personal choice? So those to summarize, to resume, are you really thinking that to be single is just a personal choice or just a consequence of the society evolution? Okay. So Matilda, over to
Yeah.
you. Which question do you want to take first?
I don't know. Let's go with. I mean, I like Sarata Yasmin Kaba. I think it's the first time I'm seeing your comment in our Podcasters Unleash. So welcome to our show. I hope we're going to see you more often. And it's a great question. I want to see. I don't know, Nelson. Are you ready to answer this? Because are you single at this moment?
I am
Pandemic time?
what was that?
Are you single at this moment?
Yeah, I'm as single as can be,
Oh my God, ladies, listen up. He's single and he's very good looking. So, can you answer this question? What do you think about it? Being single?
Yeah, you know what? Let me just read it out to the group again. Hello, everyone. I have a question for you from Sarata. Why is being single systematically associated with loneliness and sadness nowadays? Many people in relationships can also feel alone even when they are surrounded. And thank you in advance for your answer. Well, Sarata, I mean, I guess that depends on your circle, right? Who you're hanging out with. I mean, for myself, Victor said a lot of things, right? It's the nuance of it. If you're using that, if for me, I used my single time, and even when I'm in a relationship, is to learn more about myself, what I like. Um, so, and then there's some times when I said to myself, "Hey, look, I'm ready for a relationship," um, but that doesn't mean I was really ready. I just wanted one. That didn't mean I was really ready for it. Um, and I think it has to do with the relationship that we have with ourselves, right? If we feel insecure about something, we'll feel alone. If something's bothering us, we will feel alone, right? So I think it has to do with how we feel about ourselves, talk to ourselves, how we think about our future, and the circle of people I know for me that I have around me. So that's what it comes down for me. Thank you,
Perfect.
Sarata, for
Thank
the
you,
question.
Nelson. And Kaula, you're single in Paris, and it was a lot of. I mean, this last year, it's been very devastating situation in Paris. Everything is locked down. I don't know why France is acting this way, acting up with this pandemic. But tell us how it is like to be single during pandemic in Paris.
You know what? Can I jump in there for a second?
Yeah.
It, so much of this, I think, is like this movie we have in our mind, right? When I hear that Kaola is single in Paris, I'm thinking, but you're in Paris. For some reason, I don't know, my brain just goes, but you're in Paris.
It's
So
the
every
American
movie,
cliche.
yeah, right, exactly. Like in my mind, if you're in Paris, even it's like you're single in Paris. It's like it's good.
Nelson, that's
So,
single in New York. It's fascinating. Whoever is single should go live in New York because it's the best place to be.
but I'm
That's
from New York, okay? And I still say to myself, but it's Paris, and I'm from New York. I'm born in New York. All right, Carla, sorry about that. But you are.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a movie, Single in Paris, okay?
Well, we always see the greener side on the other side, not on ours. We always see something better other than others.
The grass is always greener.
Yes.
And the croissants are nicer in Paris.
definitely.
Yeah. Well, I think like for being single for a long time, sometimes it can be addicting because once you experience that joy of exploring yourself and being by yourself, you start to pull away from other things, from thinking about relationships or thinking about being in a relationship. Sure, there were like a lot of moments where I dreamt about like being with a life partner, but going through this journey and through COVID alone made me realize that it's okay to be single because I found a lot of things to work on. First of all, doing my podcast, talking to other people on with deep conversation, be curious about other things, step out of my comfort zone and travel alone and talk to people outside my area. That really helped a lot. And as a person, I don't think about jumping into a relationship directly because I have took a lot of time to reflect on myself and what I want. And now I think I have a clear idea about what I want today.
That's great. Listen, what you're answering is kind of related to Sasha's question as well. So maybe we can tackle that too. Um, Nelson, do you want to read the question, or I'm going to read it?
I will read the question.
And
And let's
Kaula
put it
can
up.
re-answer it because we're with
So,
Kaula.
question to the group: do you think that it's a personal choice being single nowadays, or just a consequence of a new trend in society? You don't think it's more of a kind of determinism, not really a personal choice? And by determinism, Sasha, means it's something that you can't control. Like you're going down a river and you're just caught up in the waves. The economy and a lot of thinkers try to basically it's a series of events that happen and you just get caught up in it. So
You know, the reason I'm asking Kaula to answer this because I know about your life story. You moved from a country to another country to study, to work, and for you, working and studying was a very important element than finding a husband. So, what do you answer to this?
Well, I do have an issue about this because nowadays, as a society, they say everyone, you need to work on yourself, to work on your career, to be focused, focused, focused. And I think a lot of women, I will talk about from women perspective and what I see. A lot of women, they go 100% in their career, in the corporate job, and they work up at the end of their 20s, in the mid 30s, and they realize they don't have a partner or a stable relationship. And that's they realize it later on because they really didn't work on their skills, on how to be a better partner, how to find the right person. And I think that it's not entirely their fault, but I think they were really in that kind of society that you need to have it all and you need to work more on your corporate job. And I think that was really affecting negatively. And I can say that a lot of friends that I have now at the late of 20s, they're like, well, I have came like at my corporate job, I'm here and I have everything. Where is the husband now? So yeah, I think women need to develop a lot of skills, not just focusing on the career and what society tells them to do.
Nelson, what do you
Can
think
I just
about
jump
this?
in there? Sorry.
Yes, Simon,
Matilda.
please do.
One, we've got a comment from Andrew Nelson, and then I'm just going to say something.
From Anders Cardell, and then there was another one right before that. Didn't know being single was an art form. Guess I can add artist on my business card then. Well, wouldn't that be nice if people would have their business card when they were dating and they would just scratch out the artist part, just put a line through it. Okay.
So Nelson, what
you want to read the other one? Nelson.
Yeah, and that was the second part from Sasha Serge. I read it out previously, but I read it again. Determinism is the part you cannot control, like events, the economy, and a lot of thinkers try to explain the sociology by those events.
Just to throw in on what Howler was saying, where she said you've got these career women, and in their 30s they say, I have a job, I have a house, big career, and all of that. In their case, I say this: you've got to look at what's attractive to a man. He's not necessarily looking at, has the woman got a load of money and a high-flying job? He's looking about, can you make a home for the children we're going to have? If you're all about working, then that's not, they say the qualities that you get from your mum, you look for in a partner, as the qualities you'll get from your dad, my sister would look for in a partner. So why do you want somebody who's really, it's like competing against you in essence? It don't really make sense.
Simon, sorry, I don't know if you know nowadays how the dating world works, because it's changed. In 20s and 30s, men don't look for a woman like that. They look for a person that can take care of the bill, okay? So things are changed dramatically.
Matilda.
Yes.
You're a woman. How are you going to speak for men? I'm not speaking for women. I'm speaking for men. So if you want to speak for women, fair enough, but don't tell me what men are doing. Because you're not in the locker when we have locker room talks, are you? You're not. Think
how it works in dating life.
No,
I
but
was
you're
a
speaking
single
as a woman,
and that's how men were looking for women who can provide.
Wait a minute, Matilda. You're speaking as a woman. You're not speaking as a man. If I'm speaking as a man. Do you understand? I'm
saying how dating world has changed.
Sorry?
And I'm telling you how dating world has changed. And I know
how can you tell me how men are thinking? Listen to what you're saying. How can you tell me how men are thinking? You can't. I can't tell you how women are thinking. I can only say.
Hey, guys, 1 second. I have a question for our audience. We want to know what you guys are thinking about single and the dating world. You see how good this conversation is going. I really want to know, male and female. Okay, Anders. All right, Anders, you jumping in. Many men have been busy for ages making a career, while women has made everything else work. Now, more women make similar choices.
I agree with that statement that Andrew's making. But what I'm saying is, it doesn't mean suddenly because a woman's doing this career thing that she's suddenly more attractive. Do you understand? That's if you can really analyze what you're saying, what is being said there. Just because you've got a major job doesn't necessarily make you more attractive to the opposite sex.
I don't know. I'm sure different men have different, different taste. I think.
Think of this. Most millionaires, especially in this country, marry women who are borderline ladies of the night. Why is that?
Yeah, I was
Because they're not
wondering why.
looking. They're
I
not
should have been
looking.
one
Bear
of
with me,
them.
Matilda.
It would be an
They're
easy
not
life.
looking. They're not looking for a high flyer career woman because they've got money. They're looking for certain qualities that are very feminine. Do you see what I'm saying? That's what I'm
Very
saying.
nice.
As a man,
That's
I can
fair.
speak to men within reason. Obviously, Andrews, I know he's my mate. He's always for women, regardless. But generally, you
Anders,
see what I'm
thank you
saying?
very much. It's good to have men like you in this show. Otherwise, they will eat me alive. Let's go with Victor. How about you, Victor? Do you agree what Simon is saying?
Yeah, I kind of agree with what Simon is saying because is it that you're saying that this is what women are attracted to, or these are the men that is present in the dating world right now?
Well, that's what I've seen in New York.
Oh, okay. You said New York is full of single people, so let's X that out. So, so what I'm going to do is I just want to answer Sarata's question, or just throw some more light on Sarata's question. See, there are single people who are alone, lonely, or lonely, as well as there are people in relationship that are alone or lonely, or even married that are alone or lonely. So loneliness and being alone cuts across all board. So to me, from experience, I just believe that sometimes the chemistry just drops off within a relationship. The chemistry just like drops off, and it takes some time and it comes back again. You get so that is there's loneliness everywhere, and there is also you can also be alone when you are in a committed relationship.
And do you think what is the reason for that? Why people feel lonely?
No, sometimes from okay, I won't have all the answer, but sometimes people you just don't get what I'm saying. You just don't get what I'm saying. These are comments or internal dialogue that you have with your partner. You know, they see, you know what? I just don't want to be bothered anymore. So most times lack of communication boils down to again lack of communication because you just can't get through. So you just want to like block off and find a way to just like, mentally she's talking but you're not listening or you don't want to hear. So that chemistry like drops off. So I think
Nelson?
it boils down to lack of communication as well.
Lack of communication. I think that's one of the skills that you wish you could have worked before getting married.
If
Very
not,
nice.
if not, I'll be like,
Very
and just talking and not communicating.
great. Nelson, you had something to say? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of in relation to the lonely, versus being in a group and being alone, and then the kind of question here. But let me read out Anders, and then I'll come back to this. Anders Cardell, I think it's more common today that you just have to meet someone that fits you without focusing too much on traditional roles, including what turns you on. I don't see these changes as a problem because there's anyone, I guess, someone for everyone. So again, I'll read it out again. Dating, Sasha Surge. Now we're okay. So I'll read out Anders. I'll read out. I want to make sure nobody gets into trouble and give proper credit here. I think it's more common today that you just have to meet someone that fits you without focusing too much on traditional roles, including what turns you on. I don't see these changes as a problem because there's anyone, or I guess someone for everyone. And that's from Anders Cardell. And then from Sasha, we had a comment there too. And Sasha Serge, precarian dating permits to meet people you'll never meet in your daily life or entourage. And in my opinion and experience, sometimes it is better to stay far from that, as it was just a waste of time for me. Okay.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay.
Bravo,
And
Sasha Pakayan. Thank you for supporting the show.
yeah, and
I agree
Anders
with that.
Cardell, the insult phenomenon is very much about feeling entitled to. And Anders, if you feel free to write more about the insult phenomena, I'm not that familiar with it, is very much about feeling entitled to. So, okay. So, Matilda, your question, could you just repeat the question out again that you asked?
About loneliness. Lots of people might feel they're single and they're lonely, but Victor mentioned a very important question as well. And also, one of our audience at the beginning, Yasmin, you can be in a relationship and feel lonely. So, why is that? And how you can handle it?
You know, I mean, I can only talk about my own experience, right? Because none of us here are on this. I'm not going to claim that I'm an expert at this. But I would say it's about being able to have a connection. Because in my experience, again, when I've been comfortable with someone, then there's no feeling of lonely. I feel like I can express freely, they can express freely. And as far as chemistry, I really believe there's like a formula, just like real chemistry, there's a formula to create stuff. So if I know how to create that chemistry, which is that connection, then there's never loneliness, right? But I can be in a relationship and not have that connection, that relationship, then the loneliness is always going to be there, that feeling that I'm alone. But as long as you can create the connection, as long as I can create the connection, I never feel that I'm alone. I can trust the person, they can trust me, we can go to hell and high water together. It's all about the relationship that we can create. And, the last thing I want to mention on this is I think part of this sometimes has to do with we believe that we're independent, right? I'm independent. And the person that spends a lot of time, let's say the woman that I think Carla was talking about, that, hey, I spent all my time doing this and doing that. It's about creating value, right? What value am I creating to attract a person, not to go find a person, to attract the person that wants to go spend time with me. Because I could do all these great things, but if I don't know how to attract that person, it doesn't mean anything. It's another skill or skill sets that we need to survive.
Lovely. What about you, Carla? You have something to say about Sasha's comment?
Yeah, I think Sasha makes a really good comment there, and I don't want to skip over it, where he says dating permits us to meet people we'll never meet in our daily life or entourage. And in his opinion, it's better to stay away from that. I think that this is a really interesting point to bring out in relation to loneliness. I think sometimes when people are alone, they mix up being alone or being single with being lonely. And they mix that feeling up also with the importance of going out to find someone. It's like there's a void there. And then I think that's what led to that kind of, there was a trend for a long time. And I know Sasha also mentioned earlier about a shift away from that in society. I think a lot of people are not even dating anymore because they realize that all you're doing when you're dating is searching. And you're searching as if you've lost something when you haven't lost anything. You've still got your friends, you've still got your family, you've still got your relatives, your children, your colleagues. You're surrounded by people all the time. But if you have this mindset that there's this void there and you have to fill it with a man or with a woman, then you start this prolific dating thing where you're just going around dating people. And quite often you're leading yourself into the belief that you've got more options than you actually have for a partner. Because you can go on 20 dates doesn't mean you've got 20 potential partners. There's still going to be a limited range from which you're going to be able to pick your partner, whether that's because of background, whether it's because of religion, life experience. For me, for example, I'm not interested in anybody who's not over 40. I'm not interested in anybody who hasn't got children or had at least ironically, at least one failed relationship. I'm not interested in anyone who's been single their whole life and is, the top pick of the bunch, because I know he's not going to match me. He's not going to understand where I've come from. He's not going to understand what I've been through in life. He's probably not going to like kids. And he's going to have lots of criteria in his mind for what the ideal woman is for him. And so all of those guys for me are eliminated. So what would be the point in me going around dating all those guys? And I think sometimes dating can lead us into a false sense of security and a wide range of choice. And that can just lead us to be disappointed and also then feed into the cycle of being more lonely and feeling alone and having a problem with actually just accepting who we are and understanding what choices we really do have. So I really like that comment from Sasha, and I thought it was important to pick up on that.
Actually, I agree too. I've been in that situation, and I think it's difficult. I mean, also with social media. I mean, Kaola might know. She's the young one in it. With social media and with Tinder, with, I don't know, Match.com, with Bumble, a couple of others I used to use. It's difficult. You're constantly, chasing people, not chasing, but changing people, because it's so easy to just next, 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 and you don't put a lot of time to understand them and to create a valuable connection with them. Simon, tell us about
All right,
you.
we got some things for.
Yeah, but before that, I want to hear about your experience in Taxi Chronicle, and you meet a lot of people, young people in dating scene and single. What is your experience about it?
And Matilda, I'm just going to jump in there for a second. Simon, hold that thought. Okay, Anders Cardell, feeling lonely in relationship attachment issues. Cardell, please type quickly. We want to hear more on that comment. Matilda and Simon, back to you guys.
Sorry,
And yeah, and Anders Cardell can type really fast. An incel involuntary celibate is a member of an online subculture of people who define themselves as unable to find a romantic or sexual partner despite desiring one. Discussions in incel forums are often characterized by resentment and hatred, misogyny, misanthropy, self-pity, self-loathing, racism, a sense of entitlement to sex, and the endorsement of violence against sexually active people. I do not want to run into one of these people. Okay. All right, Simon and Matilda, over to you guys.
Yeah, Simon.
And from Sasha, very nice comment.
We got another comment, Nelson.
Okay, Anders Cardell, it's fairly common to have challenges when it comes to creating an attachment in a relationship among people that come from broken homes. What a great transition. Matilda, Simon, over to you guys.
Okay, thanks. Sasha says, very nice comment, Carla. So well done there.
Yeah.
Just regarding my taxi, I hear a lot of stories, yes, from young people. I heard an interesting kind of conversation with a young girl, and she says, "Why does it matter if a woman has a high body count?" And I thought, what? Because a body count for what? A body count. And body count, Howler may know what body count is. I don't know. Maybe she doesn't. I don't know. But anyway, a body count in military terms is how many people you've killed. It's usually a sniper who counts body thing. Okay. But what she was referring to was how many people she slept. Now, this girl's early 20s or early to mid 20s. So and I was like, what? Why would that even come up in a conversation? It's like, oh, I like you. What's your body count? And literally, that's what they do. What's your body count? And the guy go like, I got 20 or 30. And the girl go, well, I got like 20 or 30. And they go, what? and he's gone. Like, or if he takes her on, he's not taking her on as a wife, let's say. It's just fun time. And then she'll get all emotionally entwined. And I was very interested. And I was trying to explain to her that, listen, what a man looks for, a male generally looks for, is something, like I said, about the ideal of, for long term, let's say, is that qualities that his mum has. He's not looking at his mum as some dirty little slapper. He's looking at his mum as something very honourable, nice, what have you. If you come to him like a lady of the night with that track record, and I know Victor kind of disagrees with me on this point to a certain extent, he's not really in you. He's not really in you. Now, granted, cultures are different, because when I was in Kenya, I found out a lot of the working girls got married, and I was like, really? But that's how they do it in that part of the world. I'm not judging them. I know what I ain't doing. I know what I'm doing. But generally, I can only speak for my people, where I come from. If the girl is a certain way, you're not in it. You're not in it. And it's just like Carla says, if you're not, if you've never been in a relationship, or you've been in a relationship, you're in your 40s, you've been in a relationship 1 or 2 years, like, really? But I agree with what you're also saying, Matilda, about the Tinder apps and those kind of things. It makes it hard for people, especially young people and people who aren't determined. If you're not serious about relationship, because if someone upsets you, forget him, next. But you may have just spend 6 months building up something, and before you sit down and have that talk, but then it all comes back to what Andrews was talking about, broken families. Victor, for instance, he's married, but he has his family around him. So when he wants to leave his wife, he has to deal with his aunts. And he goes, oh, Jesus, I'll just stay here. That kind of thing. It's different. But then someone else, let's say from my culture, I'm not consulting nobody. Now, as I'm older now, I realize, I do talk to my elders because they've been down the road of thing. But that's something that's not necessarily in my culture because we've lost that through the whole slave trade thing. We're more Western, which isn't always the best way of doing things, in my experience. But
Simon,
let me just jump in there. I just thought I'd share that with you.
Simon, I don't think body count actually matters.
Yeah, I agree with you. I hear what you're saying. I knew you said that. That's why I said.
Whatever is going to happen, it's still going to happen. So we've seen people who have been nuns. They are like, they live their life like as if they live in a monastery, but well behaved, but they are still like single.
Yeah,
when you see those with huge body counts, they have the skills, not just the body counting skills, but they have the skills to communicate because they know what you want. They know how to talk to you.
There's many. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. There's many a working girl.
It doesn't really fit. They know how to make you calm. Your blood pressure can be there. They know one word to bring it down, and you're like, okay.
But Victor, remember
this is where I want to be.
Remember this. If you're a working girl, and I'm putting it as nice as possible I can, that's part of your profession. Because when you're sleeping around to a certain extent, it's like you're working. That's part of your profession. So you need to know what the trick needs. Do you understand? How are you going to be that perfect woman? That kind of thing.
If you need any working woman, if it's listening, they need a consultant.
I'm not hearing Victor. Go on, Victor.
As a working girl, there's so many clients, so you need to put on your A game.
I agree with you. But my question is this: when you go
because you need to make your clients very comfortable.
Okay, but Victor, think of this: when you go to a car showroom, do you look asking for the old Formula One car that's been run out, or do you take the prestige one and get value for money?
It doesn't work like that, Simon. Doesn't work like that.
For you and your culture, I understand that.
Okay, Simon and Victor, come on. We have questions to ask.
Determinism.
We have time.
What Sasha said, determinism. Things happen, and you can't really control so many stuff. Determinism.
Yeah. All right, Nelson, we got these comments now.
Nelson,
okay. Hey, guys, we got a comment, and then hold on, guys. We got a comment, and then I know Matilda has a question for the audience. Anders Cardell, it's fairly common to have challenges when it comes to creating an attachment in a relationship among people that comes from broken homes. Okay, Anders Cardell. Matilda, back to you. I think we got a question.
I want to...
Inside your taxi, it's hot, Simon. Be careful, it's going to burn. All right.
Okay, I wanna question this ask this question from the audience, female audience, and also from Carla Kaula here in the show. I think this is how I observe, and I think how the society is functioning as well. At some point, as a woman, you think it's your fault that you're single, especially in certain areas of the world, in certain geographies of the world. Society tells women that we cannot be complete without a partner. That's why they're pushing us to be married, and if you're not married, they look at you in a certain way. Have you ever experienced it or not? And how was it? So, Carla, can you go first?
Yeah, I have experienced that pressure, but what I would say is when you're young, it's a pressure. And it depends on your character, actually, because maybe there are a lot of young people who don't bow to that pressure. I know many people, when I was young and I did bow to the pressure, they didn't want relationships and they weren't interested. But what I will say in response to your first part of the question is, for me, if I'm single now at this age, it's by choice, because I will leave any relationship that I'm not happy in. If it's not functioning, and it's not about happiness as in pursuing happiness as part of the relationship, but it's about knowing that you've got a common goal and that you're working towards something that's actually bigger than individual or personal or even couple happiness. If that relationship isn't serving a bigger need, if it isn't serving a family need and a community need, and it's not supporting my children, and it's not something that's bringing together two families, and both parties in that relationship are working towards something that's building something bigger than their own happiness and their own pleasure, I will leave, and I will leave and happily be single. Because I think that's important, that you support a value system and that your relationship serves something more than your own pleasure. And I think that's something that comes from maturing. You get to a point where you just would rather be single than be in some kind of union just for the sake of being in it and not being alone. And I know that lots of young people are in that position. Even speaking to my daughters and people of their age group, they're just like, no, if it's not for a purpose, I don't want to be in it. And I think that's probably one of the good shifts that we see now, different from when I was young, where it was a case of lots of people. And I think it was across cultures. Maybe Howla will feed into this in a minute, but it was across cultures that by the time you got to a certain age as a woman, 24, 25 or whatever, you were expected to look for a man and be in a relationship because that's all you were about. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but it's a bit deeper now. We look into things a lot better, and we look at whether or not those relationships are actually beneficial to wider networks, as in society, communities, and all of that, rather than just pairing us off for the sake of it. Howla, what do you think?
Yeah.
I'll pass it to you.
Well, I think it's quite different for me because even if I come from a Middle Eastern background, and we have a lot of values around families and being married and being supported by men, surprisingly, my family didn't put a pressure on me to get married. So, I think is that seeing people getting married when I was young and seeing all these problems that come with it, I feel sometimes I'm like, no, I don't want this for me. And I observed a lot, and I said, like, okay, I need to have my career in game, and I need to be more independent, and then I could find someone that suits me. But I do think it's a woman's nature, not about just society. It's a woman's nature to be with a partner. And to have kids and to have a partner in life, and I think a lot of women want that to have a partner. It's not about a society issue, but I do think now the society has changed, and they say to women, well, you can be a single mom, you can be a single woman entire your life, and this is a problem I see now, because being a single mom, it's too much expenses for the state. I mean, you have a lot of expenses to cover as a single mom, and it's very difficult. So I do think it's better to go back and to have this partnership that we had before. And I'm talking about this from experience, because I see now a lot of Moroccan women, I can talk about them, in France, and they can't actually find the best partner, because also men, I will talk about Moroccan men, that they want also women to contribute in everything, which is crazy. They want to contribute half and half, which is totally insane. And I've seen a lot of women, Moroccan women, young Moroccan women, struggle in their relationship, because they do a lot. They work, they feed their kids, they support their husband, and it's a lot of work for young women. But I think once you, just 1 second, once you mastered your life alone and you know what you want, you could master your relationship, and you will be well equipped to be in a better relationship.
I love that line. You said, once you've mastered your single life, you can master your relationship as well. I strongly believe that as well, Carla. Uh, Thanks for mentioning it. I feel like a great relationship starts from a great single life. We have Nelson here. Nelson, I have another question for you as well, but answer this and I will jump into the question for men.
Okay, I'm just gonna reread this thing out again from Sasha Search for Carrying. Inside your taxi, it's hot salmon. Be careful, it's gonna burn there. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to follow up here. Talking about that there's a pressure on women to get married. Well, okay, newsflash, that same pressure is also applied to men, right? Because you can't marry yourself. So it's like, hey, you got to find a good man, right? Right? Don't they say that you got to find a good man? So if as a man you ain't getting the pressure to get married, hint, you might not be a good man, right? So right, because you get that pressure, right? You got to find a good man, and but men also do that because just like I think Simon was saying before, you have these successful guys, but behind them there's also a woman or next to them. And then this whole thing about
Not behind, next. It's a new generation.
well, you know what? When you go to places like Afghanistan and Iraq, behind ain't such a bad place to be. So, when we're being, to me, being single is almost kind of a little bit of a weakness, right? Why do I say that? Because we live in a society where we can, where there's a false illusion of being independent. So, for example, we are all right now being connected through a lot of very high technology. 20, 30 years ago, I mean, only James Bond could do something like this and the president of the United States. Now we all can. But without this extra technology, being single, you don't really last too long by ourselves. So, and then kind of going back to that pressure on relationships, what Anders, and it just hit me right now, what Anders just wrote about, all of these men that have a tough time, who, I don't want to put these guys down, but having a difficult time of dealing in relationships, of knowing how to relate to the opposite sex. Those are the guys that end up in these forums that Andrews was talking about. These people end up kind of violent because they've been rejected or they don't know how to relate. I mean, they just got issues. And then as far as, hey, I don't have, when someone can't relate to someone, they don't have a series of ethics and standards to start and be in a relationship. So, when people say, hey, you can be a single mom, that's crazy. That's asking for double and triple extra work. I mean, that requires a lot of hands. And that's somebody up there in society who has no clue what they're talking about, pushing a narrative that is a very difficult life to have. Okay.
Interesting, Nelson. While you're going to read the comments, I want Anders and Sasha to answer this question as a man and from the culture you're coming. If you're not married and right now, have you ever felt the pressure that society is giving you to get married? So please read the comments, Nelson.
Okay. And by the way, that pressure can be something as sounds like this. How could a guy that has all these things going for him not have a girl? How could a guy that's done so much not have someone? That's indirect pressure, very direct. Okay, Thomas Doherty. Women's brains first, men brains second. Women are held to a higher standard because they are a higher standard. Women are a higher standard. That's a fact. Men are savages. Laugh out loud. For me, it's a love thing, and that's how it's you view yourself and what you want it to be. Company, commitment, passion, or love. In my opinion, I would marry anyone. I love Princess or I love Pauper all day, every day. Be free, open your mind, let the love shine. Big love, one love, and all. God bless. Okay, Thomas, you're game on for whatever walks in through the front door or the back door or the chimney or the window.
Single woman.
I will say something in relation to what Nelson just said. And it's also based on what your question, Matilda, you asked Howler and Carla. I find from what I've seen, and I'm only saying from what I've seen, that it's mums that give pressures to their daughters about being married more. So it's women and women more than men saying, why aren't you married? As in a father to his daughter. I find mums, I've met people and they just say, I've had to tell my mum, if she talks about me being married again, or not being married rather, I won't talk to her for a month. That's how big the pressure is. But I've never met anybody, even in my own family, where people are saying, oh, why are you not married? Mind you, we kind of get married early to women, but generally you're just left alone. But I think the pressure for marriage is more from woman to woman.
Interesting.
Nelson,
do you have that kind of experience?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you this right now. I mean, you get for me, and again, is it really pressure? Is it really suggestions? It depends how you want to look at it. But it's been, hey, you know what? My dad, your net worth would be a lot higher if you were married. You would do a lot better financially if you were married. And look, in the military, you know what? It's about time you start to think about marriage. I would just flat out say it. Yeah, you know, married guys.
I'm curious. Sorry to interrupt. I'm very curious because the military want you single because they can do more things with you, and they don't have to worry about you know, you're getting a divorce or issues with the kids, and you know, if you lost a leg or lost an arm, the more single people I know. When I was out in Afghanistan, the single people was getting the real frontline job. Right, go and chop that tree down on your belt buckle. You ain't got no kids. Go off. You're not married. So I'm surprised that you're saying that they're telling you to get married.
Well, the thing is that when there's marriage, there's more stability. Okay. When there's marriage, there's more stability, and you know, there's more of an orientation towards being a certain way and towards growth. So
very good.
I think the pressure men get from their mom is, when am I going to have the baby?
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's the pressure men get from their boys.
I agree.
And the pressure men get from their fathers is, oi, look at you. It's look at the time. Look at the time.
I mean, what Victor's saying, I'll give you guys an example, right? I had a client when I was in financial services. I went to visit them at their house, their beautiful place in Hallandale. And, you know, and they said, hey, you know, you're married, blah, blah, blah. You know, they were, you know, prospecting me too, right? So I'm not married. 2 weeks later, I go visit them again, right? I sit in their living room, and I noticed that there was something different in their living room. There was a picture, and this is like, I mean, just imagine what I'm showing right here in my arms, of this very attractive young lady in a bathing suit. I'm thinking, I did not see that picture before, right? Well, that was their daughter. They weren't playing around, okay? They just put it out there. This is what she looks like in a bathing suit. This is where she went to school. And I was thinking, I did not see that picture before last week. Now there's a picture of her in this bathing suit in the living room right in front of where I'm sitting.
Wow, so, marketing. It's a new way of marketing your
I mean, and that was heavy duty, you know, pressure right there. And it was like, well, you know, and what are you doing on Friday? And I'm thinking, our daughter's coming. You see what I mean? I mean, it was, so that's a type of pressure that you get. A guy like you know, so you know, you get that. Which is, I guess, is a good compliment. It's a good thing.
Nice. So listen, Nelson, there are 2 other comments. Let's read them because we have to wrap it up. Today we went a little bit over the time, but it's not a conversation.
And this is great, Matilda, that we have this problem. Sarata Jasmine Kabas, so many comments. Speaking of new technologies, what do you think of the new generation relationships where couple goals is a trend? Business on social media. This is also a pressure somehow. And Sasha Search, I'm married, but I'm more of a lonely person at start. I was happy to be alone. But to be with someone today was a real choice because I met the right person. I don't care about what people think. People don't think, they just react emotionally to the pressures of society. And yes, Sasha shirts, they're like leaves on a tree in the wind, just waving around. Okay. All
Very
right.
good.
Matilda,
So
back to you.
do we want to answer Sarata Yasmin's comment? Kaula, you're the youngest one, and Victor, you have young daughters. So I would like your input in this too. Let's go, Kaula.
Yeah, well, I don't really follow these bullshit posters on Instagram about couple goals because there is no authenticity on it. They always show a big view and landscape, and they are kissing each other, and everything is good, and everything is going well. But we don't see the other side of it. What are their struggles? Why they don't share this? How they handle issues? How they handle mental issues. I think it's very artificial, and we shouldn't really pay attention to this kind of trends or follow this kind of people, or if they don't give us a positive inspiration. And it's a part of business. I mean, they do marketing and they do business, so they attract people, and I don't think that should be a pressure for someone.
I
Yes,
Now,
know
Vic.
it's all about the Kim Kardashian trend.
But hold on a second, Matilda. Let me just jump in something that Carla said that's key. It's how do you handle issues, right? That's the key, right? Because the issues are going to come up. So when people say I got to find the right person, nah, you got to find the person that knows how to handle issues. And we individuals, myself, have to be the man or woman that also knows how to handle issues, right?
Right.
Because
True.
let's say this happens, and hey, I found the right person, right? I found the right person. Guess what? Newsflash, you may not be the right person for that person. So again, the first part, what Carlos said was key. How do you handle issues? How do you relate
Too.
back and forth? That eliminates or that determines that I'm feeling lonely. I don't hear you. You don't understand me. That's that kind of nuanced, soft skill, which ain't that soft. Very important to say, hey, if I'm single, so it doesn't matter if you're single or in a relationship. If a person doesn't know how to handle an issue, it doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Very good point, Kaula. Thank you for mentioning it. I hope we all can take notes from it as well. Victor, what is your take on it? I know Kaula and Simon, you have young children. I mean, they're in their 20s, I think. No, one of them. How do they see couple goals? So if you have in one or two sentences, that would be great so we can finish the show.
For me, sorry, go ahead, Victor.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Carla. Yeah, I think I don't know about if it's a trending thing, but I think couples goals, it's really good, and the pressure is good as well. Pressure is good, so don't discount pressure because it's gonna follow you all the way. So if you start dealing with those kind of pressures, being single and falling ahead as a couple, I think that is a great thing you get.
Very good, Kaula.
Yeah, my daughters, they do show me things like that. And one of the things they showed me was that whole hashtag goals, relationship goals thing that Howla was talking about. And she's right. She used the right word, and it's inauthentic. And I think what's really important with young people is they are going to face that pressure, especially through social media and the marketing. It's a new form of marketing. We faced inauthentic marketing as well. When they showed us television adverts with women dressed in beautiful outfits in the kitchen cooking, that was inauthentic advertising from our day. And I think the social media now is the same. Or when they showed the picture of a lady holding a baby in one hand and she was wearing a business suit with a laptop in the other hand, that was also another form of false marketing. And I think our job as older people who have lived life and had the experiences, good, bad, ugly, and the whole spectrum, our job is to guide them. It's to share wisdom. It's to share our experiences with them, and for us to be authentic. Because if we're authentic, if we're honest, if we tell them what we really went through, in a balanced way with the good and the bad, it helps them to make better decisions, and it helps them to understand when they're being tricked and when it's advertising and marketing, and how to navigate that and make better choices. I think that's our responsibility as older, more mature and wiser people.
Great. Simon, do you have it in a one sentence?
Hold on. We got a comment here. Sasha Serge Bakarian. I found the right person, but I have issues. Perhaps I did a mistake. Do I need to divorce? Nelson. So that's a question for Nelson. Sasha, we have a special paid version of Podcasters Unleashed where it's just us men talking. I'll make sure you get a link out for that. We get you a special headset that only men can understand on that special paid version. Anders, we'll send you out an invitation as well. And okay, please don't look at the smile on my face. Simon, over to you.
Oh yeah, and just to add to what Nelson said, you can watch it from your man cave in safety. I think power couples, I don't think my daughter is interested in it at all. She's not that kind of, she's too busy studying and she's into her K movies.
Nice.
So that's Korean movies. My cousin does do this show called Marriage UK, where him and his wife, they've been doing it for many years as it goes, talk about their personal issues, good and bad. And it's not glamorous, it is quite sincere, but I don't really watch the show. But you know, you got to like it, you support the family and what have you. But I can't talk about really and truly that power couple. I've only just been educated in what it means from how they're talking about it, so I can't talk anything more than that.
Awesome. So I'm very happy that we had a lovely conversation today. I hope our audience enjoyed it as well. I want to thank Sasha Seshpakarian for tuning in and giving us some questions to discuss. It's always lovely to have you. It was great to meet you, Sarata Yasmin Kaba. You had great questions for us, and we enjoyed interacting with you and sharing your and our ideas. Thomas Doherty, thank you very much. You've been great. Your question was very nice, and your comment brought a light to our conversation. And Anders Cardell, we loved having you back. It was very exciting for your question. We got excited about your question and your input to our conversation. Who else I'm missing? I don't think I'm missing anyone else, but please, Cardell and Simon and Yasmin, tune in again for next Monday. We have another interesting topic to explore. And also, we're not a psychologist, but we're a bunch of podcasters that love life and love sharing our experiences. We will look forward to tune in next week, for you to tune in next week as well. I'm gonna very quickly, guys, my co-host, let's share your podcast and where they can find you, and we say goodbye to it. Let's go, Simon.